Welcome to the Be Strong Show. I am your host, CEO, and Chief Heart Officer for Be Strong International. Listen, if you have not registered to attend our upcoming Hearts and Rhythm event, please do so. We are close to selling out. Thanks to our amazing sponsors, Amazon, South State Bank, TD Bank, FPNL. So many amazing sponsors are going to be there in the building, and we want you there to hear more about how we are teaching people heart skills, how to have meaningful connections, whether it's with friends, with coworkers, with family members, loved ones. It's all about understanding how to relate to one another better. So today, without further ado, I have a guest who is a dear friend, a colleague, a confidant, everything in between, CEO of Touching Miami with Love, Trina Harris. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Michelle. Long overdue. Super excited to be here.
She is so busy. I've been trying to get her to be on the show since last year.
Yes.
Last year isn't that far away, but mid last year, I think.
Yes, but we're here now.
But
we're here now.
Yes, yes. So before we get deeper into Touching Miami with Love, I like something that the Miami Foundation does where it's, what's your Miami story? Share that with the audience.
My Miami story. So born and raised right here in Miami.
Rare, right? It's rare these days.
It's rare. Every time I tell someone where they ask where I'm from, I'm like, right here. Like, what?
Right.
Rare. I'm like, yes. So born and raised here in Miami, specifically in the community of Overtown, where I still reside. Proud homeowner and resident of my community. So my story is, I thought I was going off and leaving Miami as a young girl growing up in a community. It was always taught to me to just leave. It was a lot happening growing up in Miami at that time, specifically Overtown and kind of the community. My parents, they always say, okay, well, once you finish high school, go far away. And that was the trajectory for me until I found out I had a heart murmur and end up having to stay here in Miami.
Okay, because you were going to go to, last I heard you say when you were speaking to the fellows, you were going to go to the Army, I think.
I was going to go to the Army. So I had already I was on the final stages. I think in my first physical, they didn't really catch that I had a heart murmur. So they said that they wanted to do a follow-up. Everything was already signed. I was set. I was on a nursing track. I had already got my CNA license in high school. But then that last physical came back, and then I was denied access for that reason.
Wow.
So at that time, I hadn't applied for any universities or colleges, and which I think all works out in God's timing and His path. So I ended up staying local, going to Miami-Dade. I did some online classes, worked and volunteered with kind of Parks and Recreation, the Police Athletic League, found the love and a passion for only working in healthcare, but then kind of the trajectory wanting to work with kids, children, youth.
Yeah.
So on that track, I enjoyed kind of building a foundation here in Miami and serving community.
Wow. So let's go back a little bit. When you talk about Overtown then, and when I see Overtown now, and you're still there, I want you to share with people that transition and what's happening right now so that people can understand what's happening in Overtown.
Yes, Overtown then, when I grew up, I was born in the 80s. So from 80s and 90s, Overtown was a place that wasn't a destination for folks to come to. It was a place that most outsiders said that it was dangerous. It was inhabitable. People shouldn't live there. People shouldn't go there. Harm was going to be caused to you. But for me, it was it was my home.
Right.
And yes, we've seen some acts of either violence or kind of drugs or just kind of the forces of poverty in the community. However, for me, it was a place of community. It was a space of kind of family, neighbors, and fun and enjoyment at that time because that's what we knew. Sometimes when you grow up, and some folks that as I grow older in this life, my parents and my family, even though we lived in poverty, I didn't know that I was poor, underserved, and all of the derogatory terms that sometimes are used when it comes to talking about folks that come from low income communities.
Wow.
So fast forward to now, oh my gosh, when you have buildings that are 36 stories and higher coming into the community, and kind of folks that traditionally wouldn't come in our community, they're comfortable with being in the community. So it's a give and take.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that we want the best for the community of Overtown. For me specifically,
Yeah.
I want to see growth and I want to see progress. And that is happening. But I also want to make sure that the people who have lived there, and the people who want to come back that have been forced out for several reasons, that they have an opportunity to be involved with the growth and that's happening in the community of Overtown. Because that word gentrification can go in both ways. Like, why we want to be able to gentrify our own community.
Right.
Like, can we have that opportunity? Can we be at the table to gentrify a community that we grew up in a positive way, and allow folks to be able to come back and kind of grow and build economic wealth from kind of those stories and sharing that. And so for right now, I think the part that bothers me is like a lot of places, like even Overtown, from Liberty City to Little Haiti, a lot of the Black and brown communities, our people are just kind of getting like dispersed. So that takes away sometimes from the culture of community. So we want to continue to be able to tell the story in Overtown. A lot of folks don't own land anymore in Overtown. So it's hard when you can't really control the narrative. You don't really have power on what's happening and what's to come. I think the biggest thing is like watching people, like an area that was so that was impoverished, but now it's an opportunity for generational wealth. But the folks who experience that sometimes don't have the opportunity to
go back and now build.
Go back and build.
Yeah. Wow. There's so much to unpack in that, because I've lived in Miami and have heard the stories of people being bought out or forced out so that buildings can be built and properties can be taken over for just bigger ideas that people had in mind. Just very unfortunate stories, too, of people not understanding their rights, the legal ramifications of what could happen should they decide that this home that they've lived in for maybe 80 to 100 plus years is now going to be taken away. There's so much to unpack.
So much. I mean, yesterday I did another podcast.
Wow.
The Omni CRA, and I had an opportunity to share that platform with a woman in her 80s, Dr. Evelina Bestman, and she owns property in the community of Overtown. Wow. And she's been like, before she was like, folks like, oh, you should sell. But she's like, no, she was born on this street.
You're right.
She wants it to be for intergenerational housing and something that will create generational wealth and a legacy for her family.
Yeah.
So through different mediums and supports, and we're super excited that that dream is going to come to reality. Yeah. Hoping that the city of Miami approved an agenda item that she'll be listed on pretty soon, that she's going to be able to develop in her community. Because a lot of times folks it's easy for folks to sell if they don't have the knowledge and the education, or they're not educated or have the resources to sell.
Correct.
Because sometimes it's expensive to maintain a property.
Right. That too.
So all of those, it's like so many barriers that come into play when you don't have resources or you don't have connections to be able to get what you need.
Yeah, it's like the short-term versus the long-term effects, right, of that. But it's so interesting to hear that hopefully the city votes for that particular circumstance. I would say, too, when you even say the Omni, I'm like, man, I remember going to the Omni, right? Wait a day. Like, what? Oh, my gosh, right? Now, if you even mention the Omni, if you're not from here, no one knows what you're talking about, right? Because I think the movies used to be there.
It was the movie theater. I mean, I remember the carousel that was there. And, like, you can smell, like, the popcorn when you walk through, and the shops that were there. Like, when you go back and think about, kind of, that was our growing up in Miami. Like, I live close by the Omni, so we literally
for us, it was a field trip.
It was a field trip, but it was a destination for me. Like, we would ride our bikes to the Omni and just kind of hang out. So, yeah, it was a destination.
Wow.
So many memories.
Right? Yeah, it's a lot going on with that. Wow. So tell me now then about how you ended up at Touching Miami with Love. Because I know when we met,
hmm
you were not the CEO. You
No.
were.
I was the
Can she even remember her
Probably.
previous role? No one knows.
I know, because I was promoted like five different positions at Touching My With Love. So I was in a position of leadership, but it wasn't the CEO.
Right.
Maybe a side director, senior program director, or something of that nature.
Yes.
But I mean, I've had the pleasure of being at Touching My With Love for 15 years now, and being the CEO for 3 years.
It's been 3 years.
It's been 3 years. Can you remember our first date that we had when I was like, oh my gosh, like, I need some help. What am I going to do?
Calm down. Breathe. This is going to work out. This is going to be amazing. I already knew you were going to be amazing. Like, I saw you and I was like, this girl knows what's going on in her community. You are all hands on deck, right? It was only a matter of time in my mind. Of course, I didn't know the full story of like what was happening. But when you told me, it was a true honor to sit with you and just share, like, hey, this is where I think you should go. And when I'm looking at you now, I'm like, you are, what? Everything that is going on. I'm like, wow.
I pay homage to our conversation.
Wow.
At the end of the day, like, you were one of the first person to be like, let's have lunch. Let's talk through this. I understand what this role entails.
Yeah.
And just sharing your story, sharing your heart, that was an opening. And a lot of times folks are in positions they don't share.
True.
They keep information for themselves.
Yeah.
And you have to figure out things that can just be through conversations that will change your trajectory for someone else. So I just want to thank you for that time.
No, don't start this.
Yeah, for that time.
That's so sweet. Yeah, and anytime.
Yeah.
So going back to that, because I know we sidetracked, but what made you say when you landed 15 years ago, like Touching Miami with Love was the place for you, that you wanted to make a change?
I grew a passion for working with children. I left my full-time job working at Mount Sinai Hospital in the blood bank to volunteer and work part-time with Parks and Recreation, working with kids at Gibson Park in Overtown. I love to see kids, one, want to learn, but then also have a joy for playing sports. So combining the two and creating an opportunity for young people to, one, be excited about learning, but then also kind of excel in the skill set that they had, it just created joy for me. Yeah. And that was kind of my passion. I mean, I played basketball in high school and middle school, and I enjoyed
You had the height and the everything.
So yeah, so I enjoyed that aspect. But then it was a certain point, like I'm an adult now. Like, you have to make decisions on the trajectory of your life. So in those moments of kind of like, okay, going from like teaching sports and kind of coaching and teaching and mentoring through that platform, I just started to pray, like, Lord, like, where are you leading me? Like, where are you guiding me? And I want to be in a position where I can serve you, but then also love on kids and like share that life. Literally 2 weeks later, like, my neighbor, who was the previous CEO and vice president, we lived in the same complex. We didn't really know each other,
right?
But our kids started to play together. And then just one day we were just kind of walking, getting to know each other, and they asked me the question, like, what do I do? I'm like, well, I work at the local park. And we're just doing conversation. They looked at each other weird, and they're like, oh my gosh, we may have a position that we think you'll be interested in.
Wow. And that was it.
That was it. From an interview on a couch. From an interview on a couch to a CEO of a position. And it's just because of that, like, they were missionaries that were sent to the community years ago to invest in community and build community assets. The level of investment that they invested in me.
Amazing.
From just kind of on a mission to where I am now through that journey has just been astronomical for not only me, but for my family as well. For my daughters who all that have attended programming, like my daughter just graduated the university. Exactly, right? When you're in this business, your kids go through the programming, and I'm just grateful that, one, I had that level of support, because I lost my mom at a young age when I was in high school. Also, like, my mom was a single parent. My aunt raised me at that point, and then I lost her not too long ago. So it's one of those things where family dynamic sometimes isn't there. For me, kind of lend itself to friends or to kind of community that help
The village.
the village that help kind of raise me. So the roots of Overtown that raised me from having that knowledge of community and support. But then also kind of when I was kind of um, figuring out life and my career and kind of my journey, kind of another blessing was kind of sent to me through that just one conversation that have kind of like just catapulted my life in a direction that it is to this day.
Wow. Wow.
So
That is so cool. Now, wait, are you still in touch with these missionaries? Like, do they know like
oh yeah,
what you have
course.
become?
They are lifelong friends. Like they've moved out of the state to Texas, but I go to visit. Like I went to visit them. I'm planning a trip to go visit them again. We are friends. Like our kids grew up together. We share life together. So it's just one of those things where kind of just
Oh man.
the village,
Yeah, I love it.
no matter race, creed, color, it is a village.
Yeah, I love that. Wow. So cool. So cool. So tell me or tell our audience a little bit now, like now that you're at the helm and you've been at this for 3 years, like where do you see the trajectory of Touching Miami with Love? Like, what do you want to do? What are you working on so people can know and support you in this?
Okay.
Yeah.
So our organization, we're celebrating our 30th year anniversary this year. Big deal, huge, 30 years. So for us, we have been kind of the helm of providing youth development programs and community outreach services, whether it's serving adults, do parenting programs, job training programs, internships, working with at-risk youth, making sure that they have the resources and the connections that they need as well.
Yeah.
But over the course of the past, I would say 7 to 10 years, we saw a huge need for housing. A lot of the surveys that we were putting out, parents were communicating, even the kids are like, the cost of living is high. So for us right now, the trajectory of we know that a lot of our families have been displaced. And it's hard to really build up strong community when it's so much kind of turnover and attrition with the families that are involved in programs. So one of the initiatives that we're super excited about, and we're hoping that we're able to continue to build our capital stack, is 100 units of affordable housing in our Homestead location.
Stop this.
So we're working on that. It's a huge undertaking. It's a new lane for our organization. But if we are driven by kind of meeting the needs of the community, and that's something that I strive on, like seeing what the needs are, seeing how we can break down barriers, seeing how we can make life easier for people in community. And that's the lane that we are going into, and we're hoping to kind of continue to move into and creating opportunities for housing, but also looking at kind of social enterprise opportunities as well. Because we have to create opportunities when opportunities aren't there.
Absolutely. I think we've always been having to do that.
Right?
Always having to do that as people. Wow, that's incredible. I think that's such a beautiful way to really over another generation to see the impact that you're making, because families will be on your property.
Families will be on property. And they'll be able to have wraparound services.
Oh, man.
And sometimes it's like for our housing, we understand that like it's a school next door to us.
Right,
Some of those teachers like are struggling for housing availability. So it's like if we can have like educators or folks that are living among folks that may be at a lower income. So creating that opportunity to be in community and share resources and knowledge, I think it can be a really beautiful thing.
That's so cool. Is there a projected date?
Yes. So we're hoping to have a groundbreaking in December of this year. The latest it will be is first quarter of 2026 right now because of some of the things that are happening with the federal government. And we were kind of looking forward to receiving some of the federal dollars through the EPA. If that money isn't secured, we have to continue to build our capital stack. That means that will result in a gap.
Okay.
So we're hoping that we don't have that gap.
Okay.
If we do, we'll be working hard to fill that.
Okay.
But we're super excited and we're pushing forward for December.
Amazing. Well,
So-
I want to be invited.
Yes,
to
you
the
will definitely be
groundbreaking.
invited. Definitely.
That
All
is
of Miami is
awesome.
invited to the
I know, right?
groundbreaking, right? It's a
So cool.
huge
I'm
deal.
so excited. Yeah.
But for me, it's more than just our organization looking at this opportunity, because sustainability for nonprofits as a whole is important. I mean, you know how hard it is to continue to raise money and continue to
Yeah.
have that ask. But if we can look at additional ways to
Absolutely.
bring in some income into organizations to create some sustainability, it's just a huge win for the work
Yeah.
that we're doing in the
Yeah,
community
for
that we're
sure.
serving.
For sure. And you want to leave, Touching Miami with Love wants to be around for not just 30 years, 100 years.
Exactly.
Right?
We have to be able to build a
Yeah.
platform to continue the work that we're doing.
Yeah, it's incredible work. I'm just honored to be a colleague in this space with you, and just your vision for that and what you're doing is just incredible. So,
Thank you.
I do want to say that, we were gonna play this game. Well, we can play, one or two cards a little bit.
Okay.
And then just thinking about like growing up in Miami and things we used to do. I want to get to that in a few. But
Okay.
so we have Social Yaks. This is our card game. And so I want you to choose one of these here so the audience can get to know more about you.
Ooh. What did you want to be when you were younger? Hmm. I think growing up when I was younger, I wanted to be a nurse. I've always wanted to help someone,
Yeah.
help others. I'm not on that trajectory. I did it for a little bit. But I enjoyed like nursing. I remember growing up, my mom bought me kind of a little stethoscope and a little medical bag for one Christmas, and I would go around and kind of taking people's temperature and doing that thing, and I've always wanted to do that. But as I got older, kind of things shifted. I feel like I'm still helping people, even though that I'm not on that track of nursing, but just helping people and healing community.
Yeah, I love
So.
that in a different way. Oh, that sounds like my story a little bit. I wanted to be a doctor.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So cool. All right, let's go a little deeper. This is our yak card. Let's get a little
Okay.
social.
Oh, which famous person in history would I want to spend the day with? In history. I think maybe Maya Angelou.
Ooh.
She was just very profound, and she had a sense of either knowledge and storytelling and deepness
Yeah.
that I would just want to connect with. I think it's one of those of having conversation about life, soul, and just kind of being in the state of heritage as well and culture. I think I would just want to kind of take in that.
Yeah. And just some of the things that she said was just so thought-provoking,
Yeah.
right? That imagine if you had lunch with her and just listened to her.
I think my
So
brain
deep.
would just
Yeah,
be
just
like,
I can. Right? Yeah,
exactly.
she was.
So I think that level of encouragement and kind of pouring into and kind of how she's been able to was able to live her life and her experiences, I would just want to soak that up.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Awesome. All right, we're going to go one more deeper.
One more thing deeper. When people look at you, what do they think? What do you think they see or think? Ugh, when people look at me.
Girl, you look like 30. First of all.
Okay, first of all, okay.
When you went up there on stage when you were getting awarded by the Miami-Dade
Chamber of Commerce.
and you said, yeah, I'm just getting back. My daughter just graduated from college. Everybody was like, hold up. What? Girl, you look good, girl.
Thank you.
You look
Thank you.
Great.
But sometimes I experience ageism. Like,
Stop.
seriously, like people don't take me serious. in certain settings, like
have a
people don't
baby
take me
face.
serious.
You have a
So
baby face.
sometimes I'm like, oh, it's a blessing and a curse. So I have to, and I think even when I walked in today, the grant was like, how old are you? When were you? So having a conversation. But yeah, people think I'm younger than when they see me, they think I'm much younger than I am.
Yeah.
Or I get judged for having kids that are adults.
Grown.
You grown kids, like you have grown kids. So I either get a side eye like, ooh, you started.
I'm telling you, people, we were all like, wait, stop. You can hear the crowd like, what? It was funny.
So that's what people see. They see someone that is a bit younger for my years.
Yeah, but super beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, this last one, you're going to read it, and I'm going to answer about you.
What do you think my greatest strength? What is my greatest strength?
From the time that I know you, I think your greatest strength is, I think your ability to persevere. Yeah, you have the spirit of just perseverance that I see, that I think through what we've discussed as far as, and just me hearing you now from your mom passing away, your aunt living in Overtown, going through a lot of the changes that you were seeing and still saying, I want to be here. I want to be present. I want to give back. I want to make a difference. It's not like you or me come from wealth.
No, not at all.
Right? But we know who our God is, right? And I just see that you just have this great spirit of persevering through it all. And I know that this building is this 100 property of rural, apartments is going to come to pass. I just know it is, because you are just persevering. You're going to do it. You see the big picture, and that is helping families. So my hat's off to you, my friend, for doing that and being that person that we all need. You don't know probably how many people you're encouraging by just pushing through it all, pushing through no's, pushing through rejection, pushing through, I look like this, but I know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot to handle, but you're doing great. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So I wanted to end a little bit with something fun. You know how I do, y'all. We were earlier talking about, like, man, we both grew up in Miami. What did we used to do that was fun, right?
Yes.
Talked about, and I don't even know what you call it, but when you play with the hand game, you know what I mean? So I was thinking, like, let's just do a hand game for our audience right quick.
Okay.
We're born and raised in Miami. We got this, right?
Miami.
We got this.
We got it.
We're representing Carroll City. Well, do they still call it Carroll City?
Carroll City. Yes. Miami Gardens.
Gardens, I'm calling it all the high schools.
Overtown.
We got this. Booker T. To what? All right. So what are we doing?
Sweet. Actual name.
What's the name? Tweety. Okay.
Sweet.
Tweet. But she really go rocking in the streets all day long, up and up and dancing in that song. All the little girls on Dayford Street, humping and pumping little tweet, rock and rock it, rock. Wait, rock and rock.
We love that game. Like growing up, so many different hand games, like playing outside.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Like I just remember riding, like skating in the community, having a good time. I wish
you know what it was. I know, but you know what it does? It allows us to bond.
Yeah.
Right. This was a fun way.
It was a fun way for bond. We didn't have a lot of fun,
and Anyway. I want to close out this segment with my special CEO colleague of mine, Trina Harris, and I want you to share a little bit about just what you're working on. Any last words for the audience to know all about you and what you're doing with Touch Your Money with Love?
So we're super excited. We have a 5K run that will be happening at the Underline here in Miami. That will be happening on April 19th. We're super excited for this opportunity to have a run in the space. that has had so much investment, and that is a beautiful space for families to come out, businesses to be a part, come out and be a part of this opportunity. So we're wanting folks to sign up for that opportunity. But also, because we're celebrating our 30th year anniversary, we'll have a ton of other events and opportunities for folks to be involved in. So look out for the work that we're doing, and events that we'll have at Touching Mind with Love.
Awesome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So fun. Oh, this was so fun. Yes. Show. We would love to hear from you. If you want to be a guest on our show, please reach out to us. Signing off.